the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
It's time to steer the line.
Touchdown!
Sports betting, fantasy football, and the latest NFL news. Featuring Loud Esmond, Christian Giordani, Rocky Giordani, and Jeremy James. Bet on us to make you a better better.
What?
Let's get ready to steer the line.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to another segment of Steer Line. I'm your host, Christian Giordani. We have Mr. Loud Esmond with us. How you doing today, Loud?
I'm great. Just coming off of several days of vacation, so refreshed and ready to go.
Yeah. Again, we're in the dog days of sports betting. Not a lot to say, but I want to give a shout out to one of my friends that I met fairly recently, Jaime Jaquez from UCLA. Congratulations on getting drafted to the NBA, my friend. If you're watching this, hats off to you. Yeah, let's get started.
You know, we've got over-unders, we've got some prop bets and things. This is, after all, a betting show that we want to talk about. But I wanted to ask, this question popped into my head. What do you think is the worst run NFL team? What NFL team has the worst management?
Well, before Dan Snyder sold the team, I would have said the Commanders.
Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sean. I'm glad. Sean, our producer, has strong feelings. Sean, why Cleveland?
They've sucked for so many years. They just don't know what to do.
Did they not? Who brought Johnny Manziel into the league? Was that not the Browns? That was the Browns, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Look at how good the Browns used to be, like, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then after that big move to Baltimore, they're just horrible.
Well, the Ravens haven't been terrible.
Well, no.
The Browns.
No,
But
the Browns, the new Browns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the new look Browns, since they've been brought back. Okay, so according to Sports Illustrated, Washington Commanders are number 3. And okay, all right. We're sort of wait and see with Washington now, right? Who bought them?
The owner for the Sixers, I'm trying to remember his name. It's slipping my
Okay,
mind.
and he's had some success. He's made the Sixers a competitive team.
Yeah, it gets bounced off in the second round every year for the past 5 years.
But they make the playoffs,
Yeah.
right? Playoffs? Cleveland Browns, when's the last time they made the playoffs?
2020.
The Raiders had like a 20-year drought until Derek Carr got there, and he took them to the playoffs his second year, and then he took them to the playoff 2 years ago. And then they traded him away for nothing. No, they didn't trade him. They cut him for nothing. Stupid. All right, so the Commanders, all right, number 3, according to Sports Illustrated. Number 2, the Cleveland Browns. Sean, so you're vindicated, my friend, Mr. Producer. I think the Browns are now really cursed. I think the Deshaun Watson trade was a massive. I mean, you and I, we were simpatico. Jeremy, not quite, but you and I were like, oh no,
Yeah.
this is a really bad idea. And honestly, I don't think the guy belongs in the NFL. He probably should have been suspended for life, at least for 2 years.
You should be in jail. That's where you should be.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, quite possibly. So, yeah, I can see the Browns, number 2. But I don't agree with this. They have the number 1 worst managed team in the NFL as the Detroit Lions. Which I'm just, what? Okay, so, and they say they've been around since 1930. They had Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders. They've played in 20 playoff games since 1930.
Yeah.
So, okay. But okay, so maybe I'm prisoner of the moment, right? Maybe Sports Illustrated is looking at this in
From
like
a
really broad perspective. But if you were to say who are right now, modern era, the worst managed teams in the NFL, I think hands down, there's one that stands out in the modern era enormously.
Is it the Arizona Cardinals?
Mm-mm.
All right, who you got?
Raiders.
Wait, yeah.
Sorry. That from the 1970s through the early 1990s and into the early 2000s, the Raiders were consistently one of the top 10 franchises in the NFL in terms of not revenue, but winning freaking games. I mean, their stadium was a dump, and they were constantly in legal fights with the NFL. But they have consistently made some of the worst. DeMarcus Russell.
I was waiting for that one.
Okay. Honestly, besides Brian Leaf, who's the biggest number one overall draft pick with?
With?
With. WIFF. You play baseball with. You miss it
All right.
badly, right?
Yeah.
Brian Bosworth?
Yeah, he's up there.
But in terms of marquee, the Raiders had a guy at quarterback who ate himself out of the NFL. I mean, that's pretty impressive. He weighed over 300 pounds.
They made a whole documentary about this. I remember watching this.
God, oh my God. And he also was on something all the time called Purple Drink. Codeine cough syrup mixed with Kool-Aid.
That lean.
Ugh. But right now, think 2 years ago. 3 years ago. 3 years ago, the Raiders coach John Gruden is run out of the league. Game number 4. An interim coach is named who is a special teams coordinator in his 60s, who's never been a head coach at any level. The team rallies and wins like 8 of its last 10 games to sneak into the playoffs, and then they almost won that first playoff game, which was, by the way, against Cleveland, which is kind of ironic. Then they fire the coach that took him to the playoffs. I mean, my God, as a Raiders fan at the time, which I'm not anymore, I was like, just give Rich Bisaccia a year. Give him a 1-year contract with a possible 3-year extension. See if they can run it back. When's the last time you made the freaking playoffs? Yeah, come on. And did they do that? No. And then they bring in a coach who had the greatest quarterback of all time as his quarterback and the greatest defensive coach of all time and the greatest head coach of all time, who, when he was away from that franchise, was fired in the middle of his second season because he made so many ridiculously bad mistakes and had multiple 4- and 5-game losing streaks, which, by the way, is a record in the NFL in Josh McDaniels. And the owner lets the coach, who has never done anything except when Tom Brady was his quarterback and the coach of the team was the greatest coach of all time, possibly, bring in his own general manager, who he controls, and then he proceeds to deconstruct the team. And let's just wind back what has happened. the number one player on the offense he tried to get rid of in preseason last year, Josh Jacobs, the running back, who ended up being the star of the season and leading the NFL in rushing.
Yep.
He ran the favorite player of the fan base, the quarterback, Derek Carr, who never did anything but to be completely loyal to that franchise, ran him off and got nothing. He's one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL, and he got nothing for him.
Yep, he made Derek Carr's wife cry. That was the decision. That was the point that made Derek Carr leave.
What are you doing? Get a couple draft picks. You know, I mean, my God. It's just so stupid. He broke the relationship with Carr so badly and so publicly that everybody knew they were going to have to release him. So why give him anything for him? So they got nothing. Then they took one of their best offensive weapons, Darren Waller, traded him for spare parts from the Giants. And then Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the NFL, comes over from Green Bay to play with Derek Carr, and they trash Derek Carr and give him away. And now Adams wants out. And then I kept saying, okay, Jeremy, when Jeremy was like, well, Derek Carr, hasn't done that much for the team. I'm like, okay, who are you getting that's better? Because I think like a businessman. Who are you getting that's better?
No one.
Nobody. And as it turns out, Jimmy freaking Garoppolo, who has an inoperable broken bone in his foot, who knows if he's going to be ready. And if he isn't, they ain't got Jack at quarterback. And the Raiders are talking about behind the scenes, maybe they need to bring in Carson Wentz.
Okay, do the Raiders have a first-round pick this year? Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they do.
Yes.
Tank season. What's the guy from USC? CJ? Not CJ Stroud, right?
Okay, so that is the one. Okay, so you've just hit on the one scenario that is the only way the Raiders are not the worst managed franchise in the NFL. If there is a master plan, which is we're going to lose every game this season because we're going to take that quarterback from USC and he's going to be our starter for the next 15 years. If that is the master plan behind the scenes and that ends up happening, I'll eat my words. Yeah. But honestly, I don't think that's the case.
So, as someone who loves the game of football and someone who wants that job, especially in the Raiders head office, because I think I could do a lot with that, they have two options at this moment. Either buy a ring like the Rams did a year ago or 2 years ago, or tank and rebuild. Trade Crosby, trade Devontae, trade Renfro. I've been saying this since the end of last season, since midway of last season.
Yeah, and
tank.
I think Devontae Adams will be gone by midseason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's sticking around.
He'll be a Niner. He
won't stick around for this dumpster fire. Max Crosby would have a tremendous trade value. If the Raiders were smart, Devontae Adams for a first and a second, Max Crosby for a first and a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you can honestly get 2 firsts from one of those guys.
You might, right? Yes. So you end up with, 3 first round, 3 second round, and then don't win a game. Just lose every game.
Yep. Put in Carson Wentz. You'll never win a game.
And so you go 0-16. You're assured the number 1 draft. Could you imagine what you could do with 3 first round and 3 second round draft picks?
A lot. Look at what Seattle did with 2 first round picks last year. They got Kobe Bryant and they got Charles Cross that immediately made their secondary better, and their offensive line was top 5 in the league last year. And Charles Cross was arguably the best left tackle amongst rookies.
So, so right now, the Las Vegas Raiders, to me, if that's not the plan, which I don't think it is, I think this has all been just mismanagement. And if that's the case, then they're in for a very, 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 very long time before they're competitive. All right. So let's look at strength of schedule quickly. The teams with the hardest schedules in 2023, the top 5: Patriots, Raiders, Dolphins, Bills, Chiefs. Interesting analysis by Sharps Football. Of the 10 teams predicted to have the hardest 2022 schedules, only 2 went to the playoffs: Bengals and Chiefs.
2 top-tier quarterbacks.
Of the 7 teams forecast to have losing records but predicted to have easier than average schedules, 5 went over their win totals: Giants, Lions, Commanders, Jaguars, Panthers. Of the 9 teams forecast to have winning records and predicted to have easier than average schedules, 6 went to the playoffs: Eagles, Bucks, Cowboys, Ravens, 49ers, Vikings. So just to take a quick look, if you look at hardest to easiest, hardest schedules: Patriots, Raiders, Dolphins, Bills, Chiefs. And then 49ers, Bears, Texans, Steelers, Titans, Seahawks. Those are your 10 hardest schedules.
Half of those guys are playoff contenders too.
Oh, your 10 easy. No, I'm sorry. Those are your 10 easiest schedules. Ready?
10 easiest. All right.
Let me do that again. 10 easiest: Saints, Falcons, Colts, Panthers, 49ers, Bears, Texans, Steelers, Titans, Seahawks. So a lot of those teams are heavily favored to go to the playoffs. I strongly believe you're going to see the Saints, the 49ers, the Steelers, and the Seahawks in the playoffs in that group, definitely. And then your hardest schedules: Patriots, Raiders, Dolphins, Bills, Chiefs, Chargers, Jets, Vikings, Commanders, Broncos, Cardinals. Okay, the Cardinals and Broncos are eliminated from the playoffs.
Yep.
All right, right off the bat. See ya. And then I'm taking out the Vikings. And I'm taking out the Commanders. And I'm taking out New England. And I'm taking out the Raiders. So, Jets, Chargers, Chiefs, Bills, Dolphins. Who makes the playoffs?
So, Bills, you know me and the Bills, we don't get along very well. Chiefs obviously make it. That division, I can see the Chargers getting in on a wild card as well. I'm very confident in the Jets this season, so I think they will.
See, you and we're diverging paths on the Jets.
I'm big on the Jets this season.
I think they've got a great defense. You got to show me what Aaron Rodgers can do.
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to make Garrett Wilson the second best receiver in football, at least top 3 to top 5.
All right, so we're going to agree to disagree on the Jets.
Yep.
But I'm going to say it's going to be too much for the Dolphins. Too much. And I'm going to say it's going to be too much for the Chargers. Because if you look at, again, we do analysis on this program, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you look at past history, the teams that had the toughest schedules have a really hard time making the playoffs. And so the Cardinals, the Broncos, the Commanders, and the Vikings, sorry, if you're in the top 10 hardest schedules and you're any of those 4 teams, you're gone. Mm-hmm. Patriots, gone. The Chargers always find a way to screw up the last 4 weeks of the season. Out. But the teams that'll survive, Bills, Chiefs, let's say Jets. So we're going to say 3 of the teams with the hardest 10 strength of schedule in the league will make the playoffs.
Yes. That's what we said.
Okay.
All right.
You had stuff you wanted to bring up before I hijacked the show. Sorry.
Yeah, we just got some quick prop bets that I want to go through, you being the expert and all. First one, it's the biggest prop bet of the year so far. Lamar Jackson over 872.5 rushing yards with minus 120 odds. Are you taking the over or are you taking the under?
I'm going under, and here's why.
Under. Tell me.
He doesn't want to be a running quarterback.
Okay. Just for some clarity, in his past 4 seasons, he's averaged around 864 yards. In the past 2 seasons, he has not broken 800 though, but he's only played 12 games in those 2 seasons.
Well, thank God he hasn't broken anything because that sounds painful.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
okay, no, look, what happened this last offseason?
He got some receivers.
Right, because the knock on him was he can't throw. And he wants to prove he can throw, and we see what happens with running quarterbacks. So if he's going to have longevity in the league and he's going to prove his doubters wrong, what is he going to have to do? Throw the ball. I think he will be more hesitant to run the ball this season than he has ever been.
All right. Now we go on to Aaron Rodgers, your favorite guy. Aaron Rodgers over.
Oh, wait, no. We don't. He's not Aaron Rodgers on this show. He's psychedelic man bun Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing it out there.
Perk Rodgers. That's what we call him out here.
Mark. Okay.
Perk. Aaron Rodgers under 8.5 interceptions, minus 115. You taking the over or the under?
What's his historical average?
I can tell you right now, but I'm gonna go over as of right now. New team, it's gonna have some learning curves, but 8.5.
He doesn't throw a lot, does he?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
And for the 10 years, 15 years, 16 years he's been in the league, he's led the league in throwing yards in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 10 seasons.
Throwing yards. What about interceptions? That's what we're talking about.
Interceptions, he's only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 seasons with over 8.5 picks.
I'm going under. You know why? I think they're going to try to run the ball and not expose him. They're going to try to use him like you would use a 35-year-old quarterback, which is run the ball, play defense. If you need him, go for it.
40-year-old quarterback.
Sorry, 40-year-old quarterback.
Yeah. All right. Next one, we got Bijan Robinson over 1,100.5 rushing yards, minus 120.
Oh, over.
Over. I'm going over as well.
He is so good. He is. Who's he playing for in the
Falcons.
NFL?
The Falcons.
Yeah, he's going to be great.
Yeah.
Playing on turf, 8 games at least, plus on turf at New Orleans, that's 9. I wonder how many games he's playing on turf. Probably at least 11. Yeah. I would guess. Man, this is why I don't understand NFL people who don't watch college football, because you can't possibly understand how good certain players can be, right?
Yeah, I'm not a big college football guy. I just started getting college football recently, so I get where those guys are coming from. All right, this is the next one coming up. Most yards for rookie wide receivers, and here are the odds. Jordan Addison, plus 175. Quentin Johnson, plus 180. Jackson Smith-Njigba, plus 190. And Zay Flowers, plus 350.
It's funny. I actually like the last 2 better than the first. Okay, who do they play for?
Jordan Addison just got drafted to the Minnesota Vikings. Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Oh, wait, stop there. Jordan Addison has the best receiver in the NFL on the other side.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
You're not the guy. Next.
Quentin. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost
Quentin
my
Jefferson?
page. Yeah, Quentin Johnston
Okay.
is a Charger.
No. There's 2 other guys that can catch passes there.
Jackson Smith-Njigba is a Seahawk. 2 other guys.
Yeah, that's tough too.
Yeah. I think he's the best receiver in this class, though. And then we got Zay Flowers, Obviously on the Ravens.
Oh, Zay Flowers is going to have a great year.
Yeah, he's plus 350.
He's fast. Zay Flowers is fast as hell. He's a guy that I can see, catching a 5-yard out and boing.
Have you
gone.
ever seen him on like an Ohio sail route? Oh my
Oh
god.
my God.
Just going to the post.
Yeah.
He
See ya.
is fast.
Yeah. No,
That
I
a-
mean, the other guys are all great, but they're playing on teams where they're the third guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Zay Flowers has a chance to be the 2 or 1 guy, who besides, Mark Andrews, it's really his biggest competition is a 31-year-old OBJ, who I still think is going to be great, but he's always better
But
than
who's
number
going to
2
draw
option.
the coverage? OBJ or the rookie?
1 minute.
Yeah, it's
So
going to be the
OBJ
vet.
draws the double team. That's plus 3. How much
Plus
is that?
350.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking
okay.
that.
Yeah, I'm on it. So that's a great. Okay, repeat the prop bet again because I think that's one of the top prop bets of the year right now.
Most yards
Zay
for a
Flowers.
rookie wide receiver. Zay Flowers plus 350. Jackson Smith-Njigga plus 190. Quentin Johnson plus 180. And Jordan Addison plus 175.
Yeah, love Zay Flowers there. All right, take us out, Christian.
All right, everyone. We're Steer the Line, and we will see you guys next week.